So, welcome back. Topic for today is biodiversity and its conservation. You know what biodiversity means? Biodiversity is the variety and variability of living organisms. So, in this video, we will be discussing about the various methods of conservation of biodiversity, which includes the in situ conservation and the ex situ conservation. Now, let us come to the in situ conservation first. So, before that, let me tell you that biodiversity is very important for us because it helps in maintaining proper balance of nature. Okay, and it is also our responsibility to conserve biodiversity not only for us but also for our future generation. Various organizations like UNESCO, IUCN, FAO, then WWF, all these have been playing a very big role in conserving the biodiversity and as well as for the sustainable use of biological resources. Mainly, two methods of conservation strategies have been framed. These include the in situ conservation and the ex situ conservation. So, let us start our video by in situ conservation. So, what is in situ conservation? The in situ conservation means protecting the endangered plants or animal species in their natural habitat. So, we can say that in situ conservation involves protection of the total ecosystem because we are protecting the plants and animal species in their natural habitat. Got it? So, in situ conservation is done by formation of protected areas. And these protected areas include national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, etc. So, as far as protected areas are concerned, these include as far as IUCN has given a definition for forming a protected areas. So, as far as the IUCN is concerned, it says that a protected area is an area of land or sea which is specifically dedicated for the protection and maintenance of biological diversity. Got it? So, IUCN, you know the full form of IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So, it has defined a protected area as an area which can be a land or sea dedicated for the protection and maintenance of biological diversity. And as we have already discussed, these include national park, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, etc. So, we will go one by one. First come to national park. You know, national park falls under the category 2. Okay, it falls under category 2 of protected areas as specified by IUCN. Now, what is the main objective of formation of national park? Main objective is protection of the functioning ecosystem. That means whatever the ecosystem is out there, it should be protected. The main objective of formation of national park is the protection of ecosystem. Now, it's a relatively large area with an unaltered ecosystem. Now, here visitors are allowed to enter for inspirational, cultural and recreative purposes. Okay. One of the first national park to be established in India was in 1935, which was previously known as Hellis National Park, and now it is called as Corbett National Park. Okay. Now, some of the important national parks in India include Vitarkanika National Park, Similipal National Park in Odisha. Got it? So, I have already given examples of the national parks found in Odisha. Now, come to the wildlife sanctuaries. Now, what is a wildlife sanctuary? When a wildlife sanctuary falls under category 4 of protected areas as specified by IUCN. National park falls under category 2, whereas wildlife sanctuary falls under category 4 of protected areas as far as the IUCN is concerned. What happens here? Here the vulnerable, endangered and critically endangered wild animals are protected. Got it? Here human intervention, poaching and grazing are strictly prohibited. Okay? Now some of the important wildlife sanctuaries of Odisha include Gahirmatha Marine Sanctuary, which is very famous for olive ridley tortoise. Then Usakoti Wildlife Sanctuary. So these are some important wildlife sanctuaries found in Odisha. Now let us come to the third type of protected area, that is biosphere reserve. Okay. As far as biosphere reserves are concerned, they fall under category 5 of protected areas as specified by IUCN. Now biosphere reserve is an undisturbed natural area where in situ conservation of all forms of life is enforced. Okay, it was first initiated under Man and Biosphere program in 1971 by UNESCO. So it's a program which integrates human activities with conservation of biodiversity. Actually, it consists of 3 zones: core zone, buffer zone and transition zone. Core zone, buffer zone and transition zone. So let us come to the 3 zones one by one. So core zone is a strictly protected zone. It is meant for the conservation of landscapes, ecosystems, species and genetic variation, maintenance of ecological diversity and integrity. So it's a very strictly protected zone. It is followed by buffer zone. So that means buffer zone is surrounding the core zone. It's here activities that are compatible with sound ecological practices like scientific research, monitoring, training and education are allowed. Then the buffer zone is surrounded by transitional zone. So we can say that the transitional zone is the outermost zone. It is ecologically least sensitive. So here human activities like settlement, cropping, then your sustainable development are allowed. Got it? So we can say that biosphere reserve consists of 3 zones, that is core, buffer and transitional zone. Core is the central part which is strictly protected. It is surrounded by buffer zone. Then the last one is the transitional zone. So it is the outermost zone and is ecologically least sensitive. So as seen in this picture, you can say that biosphere reserve consists of 3 zones. That is your central core zone surrounded by the buffer zone, grayish colored buffer zone. Then the last one, the third one, whitish one, is the outermost zone which is called as the transitional zone. It has, in this picture, there is a clear indication of what kind of work is allowed in these 3 zones. Now let us come to the ex situ conservation. So we have already learned what is in situ, that is the conservation of biodiversity in its natural condition, in its natural habitat. Now ex situ conservation is the conservation of biological community outside their natural habitat. Got it? It includes botanical gardens, gene banks, zoological parks, tissue culture. These are the ex situ method of conservation. First come to the botanical gardens. Now botanical gardens are artificially made natural surroundings where a large number of plant species are kept. Okay, here large number of plant species are kept and these are artificially made. Now they provide shelter to endangered plants also. Okay, so what is their function? Why they are being done there? They are being made. They provide material for botanical research. Got it? Some of the important botanical gardens include Royal Botanical Garden of Kew, England, then National Botanical Garden of Shibpur, Kolkata. Got it? Now come to the zoological park, that is zoo. That is very well known to you. I believe that most of you have seen a zoo. So these are what? These are enclosed areas for providing shelter to wild animals. The main objective is to create your interest and curiosity for animals. Got it? This is what the zoological park is. Now come to the gene banks. These are nothing but biorepository which preserves genetic material. Okay, genetic material is preserved in gene banks. How? Your genetic materials are preserved in various ways, like storing at minus 196 degrees centigrade in liquid nitrogen in a controlled nutrient medium. Okay. Now gene banks can be of various types like seed banks, cryo banks, etc. Okay. Now come to the next one. So this marks an end to this video. We have discussed in details about the various process of biodiversity conservation. Various methods of biodiversity conservation, which includes in situ and ex situ method. I hope this video will be helpful for you in understanding the biodiversity conservation methods. Thank you.